The door creaked open, and the air hit me thick with lavender, laced with something floral and faded, like perfume clinging to old letters. I stood there, backpack slung over one shoulder, staring into my sister's old room. Now mine, supposedly. Mom had insisted after Lilly moved out for college. Space was tight downstairs, and this felt like a fresh start. But it didn't. The walls, painted soft pink years ago, seemed to press in, whispering of dresses and diaries I had no business touching. My stomach twisted. A mix of resentment and this strange, unexplained pull. Like the room knew something I didn't. Why did it feel less like invasion and more like invitation? That first night alone, curiosity edged out hesitation. I flicked on the lamp, shadows dancing over forgotten trinkets, and wondered what I'd unpacked here. Unpacking started simple enough, tossing my clothes into the empty drawers, avoiding the ones still half full with Lily's things. The closet hung open, dresses swaying slightly from the draft, their fabrics whispering in pastel shades. A blue sundress, a white blouse with lace edges. On the vanity, tubes of lipstick lay scattered like colorful soldiers. Mascara wands peeking from a drawer. The mirror smudged just enough to blur my reflection. I resented it all. The forced shuffle upstairs, the way Mom smiled like this was some gift. "Lily's room will suit you," she'd said, oblivious. Yet, as I brushed past the vanity, fascination crept in. The air felt softer here. The rug plush underfoot, muffling my steps like it wanted to keep secrets. I paused at the closet, hand hovering near a silk scarf draped over a hanger, deep purple and smooth. Just a touch, I told myself, fingers grazing the edge. Warmth spread unfamiliar, like static humming up my arm, settling in my chest. It wasn't revulsion. It was something quieter. A flutter I couldn't name. My throat tightened then, echoing Lily's laughter from years back, high and easy, filling the house on summer nights. She'd twirl in here, door ajar, inviting me to watch her try on outfits, teasing about my boring boy clothes. Now, alone with her echoes, that memory twisted. What if I joined her? Just once. I pulled back, heart picking up. No, this was her space, not mine. I shoved my jeans into the bottom drawer, slamming it shut, deciding to leave everything untouched. Dresses zipped away, makeup ignored. The bed creaked as I sat, the quilt floral and worn, carrying faint traces of her shampoo. Sleep came restless, dreams fragmented. Mirrors multiplying, fabrics wrapping around limbs that didn't feel like mine. Laughter turning to whispers asking, "Who are you, really?" I woke tangled in sheets, sweat damp, the room's quiet pressing heavier. Morning light filtered through sheer curtains, golden and insistent, pulling my gaze back to the closet. The scarf still hung there, innocent. But now it tugged harder. Less a dare, more a question I couldn't ignore. The morning stretched lazy. House still quiet with Mom at work and Dad out running errands. I lingered by the bed, coffee mug cooling in my hand, eyes fixed on that purple scarf. It wasn't the fabric calling me, exactly. It was the way the light caught it, making the silk shimmer like it held a secret just for me. I set the mug down, steps soft on the rug, and reached for the closet door, pulling it wider. Dust motes swirled and the scents deepened. Lavender mixing with vanilla from some forgotten candle. Drawers called next, the vanity's lower ones half open from Lily's hasty pack-up. I knelt, hesitant, fingers brushing the edge of one. Inside, layers of silk and lace peeked out, stockings rolled neat, a camisole in pale blue, edges frayed from wear. Just looking twisted something in my gut, but I couldn't stop. I pulled the drawer open fully, hand diving in before thought caught up. The textures hit first. Cool silk sliding over skin, lace snagging lightly like a whisper. My stomach turned to static, buzzing low and insistent. Not disgust, but this electric hum, like touching a live wire wrapped in softness. I sat back on my heels, a pair of stockings clutched in my fist, staring at the mirror across the room. My reflection stared back. Same short hair, same jawline, same everything. But suddenly it looked out of place here. Angular against the curves of the vanity, the sweep of hanging dresses. Why did the room make me feel like an intruder in my own skin? The pull wasn't just curiosity anymore. It felt like recognition. A quiet nod from something buried deep, saying, "You've been here before, haven't you?" My chest tightened, breath shallow, as if the mirror knew and I didn't. The necklace caught my eye then, dangling from a jewelry box on the vanity. Simple silver chain with a tiny pendant, a teardrop of blue glass. Small dare, I thought, heart picking up. No one around. Just to see. I unclasped it, the metal cool against my palm, and lifted it to my neck. The chain settled over my collarbone, weight light, but impossibly natural, like it had always belonged there. In the mirror, it gleamed against my skin, softening the lines of my throat, drawing my gaze down to where my shirt collar gaped. For a second, the face looking back shifted. Not changed, but possible. Luminous in the morning light filtering through the curtains. Fear flickered then, sharp and hot, flooding my veins. What if Mom came home early? What if this meant something I wasn't ready for? I fumbled the clasp open, the necklace slipping free with a clatter back to the box. Heart racing, I shoved the drawer shut, static still humming in my stomach, but now laced with thrill. The secrecy of it. The door I'd cracked open just a sliver. I backed away, cheeks warm, the room's quiet wrapping around me like approval. Days blurred after that. Afternoons folding into each other while the house emptied. Schoolwork piled on the desk, but my eyes drifted to the vanity, the closet's hidden depths urging me on. The drawers held more than textures now. They promised answers, pulling me back each time the door clicked shut behind the last family member. Routine tugged me back that afternoon, the house settling into its midday hush. Mom at the office, Dad's truck rumbling off to the hardware store. I lingered by the door, key still in the lock, the lavender scent wrapping around me like a held breath. The vanity mirror caught the light, pulling my gaze to the closet, where skirts hung in quiet rows, their hems brushing the floor like unspoken invitations. Not the necklace again, I thought. That had been too small, too fleeting. Something more. My hand trembled as I pushed hangers aside, fingers landing on a simple black skirt. Knee-length, cotton blend. Nothing flashy, but the fabric felt alive under my touch, soft and yielding. I carried it to the bed, unfolding it across the quilt, the material pooling like spilled ink. Heart thudding, I stripped off my jeans, the cool air raising goosebumps on my legs. Sliding the skirt up was slow, deliberate. It whispered against my skin, climbing past calves, knees, thighs, settling at my waist with a zip that echoed too loud in the silence. Foreign, yes. The way it hugged my hips, restricting steps into something shorter, more contained. But as I turned to the mirror, the motion felt fluid, not forced. My body adjusted without thinking, a sway in my step that pulled the fabric smooth. There I stood, skirt draping just so, my plain t-shirt tucked in haphazardly, reflection staring back with wide eyes. It wasn't a joke, this. Not some silly dare to laugh off later. A spark ignited in the glass, luminous and hesitant, like sunlight breaking through fog on the vanity's edge. The lines of my face, the slope of my shoulders, they softened in that light. The skirt framing a possibility I'd never named. My chest fluttered then, nervous curiosity blooming low, warm threads weaving through the static in my stomach. Hips shifted unintentionally, the mirror catching the subtle curve, and, for a breath, it wasn't me looking wrong. It was right. Another angle unfolding. It didn't look ridiculous. It looked like another angle of me, hidden until the room coaxed it out. The thought settled heavy, throat tightening as lavender curled in the air, mixing with the faint vanilla from the skirt's folds. Lilly's scent. Now mine, in this stolen moment. I traced the hem with fingers, feeling the weave, the way it clung without judgment, fluid against skin that suddenly felt too rough, too angular elsewhere. What was this pull? Not escape, but emergence. Like shedding a layer I'd worn too long, the fabric settling around my hips in a way that twisted my gut. Not with fear, but recognition. Chest rising faster, I paced a step, the sway returning unbidden, skirt swishing soft, pulling me deeper into the reflection's quiet dare. Time thinned around me, afternoon light slanting lower, casting long shadows over the rug. I sat on the bed's edge, skirt bunching slightly, hands pressing flat against it as if to anchor the feeling. The flutter spread, curious and insistent, whispering that this wasn't enough, that the room held more layers to peel back. But panic edged in too. Footsteps downstairs? A car door? I stood abruptly, unzipping with haste, the fabric sliding down like a shed secret, pooling at my feet. Folding it carefully, I hung it back, fingers lingering on the hanger. The image burned in. That luminous spark, the sway, the angle that fit. Yet it lingered, that image, like a kept secret humming under my skin as I dressed in jeans again, the roughness jarring now. Evenings blurred into solitude after that, the house emptying like clockwork, pulling me back to the closet's depths. Each session braided confusion with comfort, the skirt one day, a blouse the next. Movements softening, the mirror's gaze warmer, urging the routine forward into something undeniable. Solitude became my ally those weeks. The house's rhythm predictable, Mom's car pulling away at 8, Dad's footsteps fading down the drive by 9. I'd wait until the silence settled, thick and reassuring, then slip back to the room, the lavender air greeting me like an old friend. The skirt had opened the door, but now the rituals escalated, each one layering on the last, pulling me deeper into the quiet rhythm of becoming. One afternoon, with sunlight slanting low through the curtains, I reached for a blouse from the closet. Lilly's, pale lavender, buttons marching up the front like tiny invitations. The fabric slid over my arms, cool at first, then warming to my skin, sleeves whispering as they settled. I buttoned it slow, fingers fumbling at the collar, the material hugging my chest in a way that softened the angles. made my shoulders drop into something less rigid.
In the mirror, it paired with yesterday's skirt, the two pieces braiding together seamlessly. Fluidity in the drape. Joy flickered then, warm and unexpected, threading through the static in my stomach. A lightness, like standing in a patch of sunlight after too long in shadow. But fear warred with it, sharp at the edges. What if Dad knocked early? Or Mom forgot her lunch and doubled back? The thought tightened my throat, breath catching as I smoothed the blouse, imagining their eyes on this secret version. Judgment heavy as the quilt I'd hide under. Still, I moved, practicing steps in the dim light filtering from the hallway, the blouse shifting with each sway, movements coming easier, more natural, hips rolling without force. Time thinned after that, afternoons collapsing into stolen hours, transformation in the quiet, reversal before dusk. I'd add touches then, a swipe of light makeup from the vanity, mascara wand trembling in my hand as it brushed lashes, making eyes wider, deeper in the glass. Lip gloss next, sheer pink, tasting faintly of cherries, settling on my mouth like a hesitant promise. The mirror held it all, my reflection evolving in fragments, face softening under the glow, the way the gloss caught light, turning a simple stare into something conspiratorial. Joy swelled in those moments, the fluidity of it all, clothes and colors weaving a self that felt contained yet free, no longer spilling over the edges of who I'd been. But the weight pressed too, emotional undercurrents pulling at the seams. Downstairs at dinner, I'd catch myself, hand gesturing softer, laugh lighter, carrying over from the room's hush. Mom noticed once, tilting her head over plates of pasta. "You seem different lately. Happier?" I nodded, throat tight, mumbling about school easing up, while inside the fear churned. Discovery looming like a shadow under the door. What would they see? Not the joy, but the lie. The stolen hours braiding confusion into every meal, every casual touch on my arm. The fluidity bled into daily life, steps quieter on the stairs, voice pitching up in solitary talks with the mirror, but it warred with the terror of exposure. Family orbiting too close, oblivious to the secret blooming upstairs. I didn't know what to do with that feeling yet. The overwhelm of it. Joy and dread twisting like threads in the blouse's weave. Nights I'd lie awake, the room's scents clinging to sheets, heart fluttering with the day's echoes. The gloss's shine, the blouse's hug, the sway that lingered even in jeans. It wasn't just play anymore. It was emergence, insistent, demanding space beyond the closet's shadows. The mirror became my confidant then, evenings drawing me back for longer stares, forcing confrontation with truths I'd skirted, the deeper pull, the self staring out, luminous and unyielding, whispering that the secret couldn't stay hidden forever. Evenings pulled me to the mirror like a tide, the room dimming as sun dipped low, casting the vanity in a soft amber glow that blurred edges just enough to dream. I'd stand there, blouse still half-buttoned from the day's ritual, staring until time stretched thin, the glass holding my gaze captive. My face would soften in imagination, jaw easing, cheeks rounding under the play of light, lashes darker from the mascara I'd wiped away but not forgotten. The body below yearned too, a quiet ache for permanence, skin tingling where fabrics had brushed earlier, whispering that clothes alone weren't enough, that the curves imagined needed to settle real, unyielding. It felt foreign and impossibly natural, this yearning, like a shadow finally stepping into form, luminous against the pink walls. Doubt crept in those silences, slow as fog rolling over the rug, questioning everything. Was this escape? A hideout from the boredom downstairs? The weight of expectations in Dad's quiet nods or Mom's casual questions? Or emergence? Something breaking free I'd buried under layers of denial. My throat tightened in the quiet, breath shallow against the mirror's cool surface, fogging it briefly before I wiped it clear, only to see the same face staring back. Familiar yet fractured, pulling in two directions. The joy from afternoons warred with this, a static hum turning heavy, stomach nodding as I traced my reflection's lines, wondering if the pull was madness or truth. If leaning into it meant losing the self everyone knew. Nights blurred into these sessions, the lavender air thickening with unspoken fears. The mirror's silence demanding answers I circled but never grasped. Whispers led to research one restless midnight, laptop screen glowing faint in the dark, the house asleep around me. Fingers hovered over keys, heart picking up as I typed hesitant searches. Words like, feeling right in women's clothes, hidden self emerging. Pages unfolded in the blue light, stories spilling out. Others describing the same flutter, the impossible fit of silk against skin, the terror of secrets spilling over. Heart swelled then, warm and aching at shared threads. Someone's first skirt mirroring mine, another's mirror stares echoing my own. It wasn't alone, this confusion. It braided with theirs, validation seeping in like vanilla from the closet's depths. But doubt lingered, throat dry as I scrolled, wondering if my story fit, if the room's invitation was coincidence or call. The words on screen both comfort and cliff, urging me toward edges I wasn't sure I could cross. The first outing came on a humid afternoon, house empty but backyard calling through the open window, fence high, trees shielding from neighbors' glances. Dressed in the skirt and blouse, gloss faint on lips, I stepped out, door clicking soft behind me. Air felt warmer, thicker, as if agreeing with the secret, wrapping around legs like an embrace, the grass cool and yielding under bare feet. A brief walk, just circles near the patio, sway coming natural in the open, wind tugging at the hem, carrying lavender faint on the breeze. Relief washed first, clean and sharp, body moving free without walls, the world outside not judging, just holding space. But terror mixed in, eyes darting to the fence's gaps, pulse racing at imagined voices. What if a ball sailed over, or Dad returned early? The pivot hit mid-step, relief twisting into something deeper. This couldn't stay contained. The air's agreement too real, the sway too insistent, demanding more than stolen yards and hidden hours. That terror lingered as dusk fell, pulling me back inside, skirt folded away but the warmth clinging to skin. The secret strained now, body whispering louder, yearnings for changes beyond fabric, permanence in the curves I'd only imagined. Decision point arrived quiet but unyielding, mirror reflecting a face ready to step beyond. The room's hush no longer enough to hold it all. The decision settled in the quiet hours after that backyard walk, the air still thick with its warmth as I sat cross-legged on the rug, laptop balanced on my knees. The screen's glow cut through the dimming room, casting blue shadows over the vanity, pulling me into forums and threads I'd bookmarked in whispers. Stories unfolded like petals, people describing the first steps as blooming,
slow unfurling from tight buds, or shedding old skin, layers peeling away to reveal something softer underneath, luminous and waiting.
My fingers hovered over the keys, heart fluttering with that familiar static. Not fear exactly, but the edge of a threshold. Analogies wrapped around me. One writer likened it to fabric settling after a long crease, smoothing into shape. Another, to light filtering through sheer curtains, gradual but undeniable. It mirrored the room's pull, the lavender air now feeling like encouragement, urging me toward this next layer. Body demanding more than mirrors and makeup could give. Consulting deepened over nights, the house's hush my only witness as I scrolled past warnings and wonders, throat tightening at the realities. Pills, patches, the quiet alchemy of change. Questions burned internal. Could I do this? Alone? Discreet? Without the family's orbit closing in? The pull won out, insistent as the sway I'd carried downstairs. Movements softer in ways they hadn't noticed yet. I bookmarked sites for discreet orders, anonymous enough to feel like another secret ritual, hand pressing against my chest as if to steady the flutter. It wasn't invasion I sought. It was confirmation. The body aligning with the self the room had coaxed free. Fabrics and glosses hinting at curves that needed to bloom real. First steps came midweek. Package arriving, plain wrapped on the porch while Mom sorted mail inside, oblivious. I snatched it quick, slipping upstairs with pulse racing, door clicking shut like a held breath. In the bathroom off the room, Lilly's old one, tiles cool underfoot. I tore it open, pills rattling small and white in the bottle, labeled generic, promise, heavy. Hand shaking, I palmed one, water from the sink tasting metallic as it went down, the swallow echoing in my ears. No immediate thunder, just a quiet settling in my stomach. Static humming lower, warmer, like the first brush of silk against skin. I stared at the mirror there, smaller than the vanities, but honest. Reflection holding my gaze with wide eyes. The act sealing something irreversible. Fluid and frightening. Sensory shifts whispered in early. Tingles under skin, famed at first like pins easing after numbness, spreading from chest to arms. Mornings brought it sharper, hair brushing softer against shoulders as I dressed, strands catching light differently, less coarse, more yielding. The room amplified it, lavender mingling with a new scent, my own, subtly sweeter, as if the air agreed, wrapping the changes in approval. In the blouse one afternoon, the fabric clung closer, nipples sensitive where it grazed. A flutter blooming low that wasn't just thrill but confirmation. Body responding not as stranger but ally, shedding the old angles for something contained. Possible. Hips felt fuller in the skirt. Subtle shift in the sway. Mirror catching it luminous. The tingles confirmation weaving through doubt. Turning static to steady hum. Quiet affirmations filled the gaps. Lily's old notebook pulled from the vanity drawer, pages half scribbled with her loops and hearts, now mine for hesitant words. I'd sit on the bed, pen scratching slow at first. The tingle isn't wrong. It's right. Like the necklace, settling. Flow came then, sure and spilling. Entries on the bloom, the shed skin feeling less like loss, more emergence. Throat loosening as ink dried. Today, the hair brushed softer. It fits the reflection, not fights it. The notebook braided with the room, its leather cover warm under palms, words anchoring the internal landscape. Vulnerability shared with paper alone.
Joy threaded deeper. The changes, not invasion, but invitation extended. Body whispering back in tingles and softness, luminous under the lamp's glow.
Yet secrecy strained as weeks folded, body speaking louder, chest tender under shirts, movements carrying the fluidity downstairs, Mom's glance lingering once over breakfast.
"You look rested," she said, and I nodded, throat tight, the pill's rhythm pulling toward edges the room couldn't contain alone. The whispers built, inevitable, leading to a reveal that hovered like dusk at the window, ready to spill the secret wide.
The tension built like a held breath that afternoon, sunlight slanting sharp through the curtains, turning the vanity's mirror into a blaze that pulled me in one last time. I'd escalated the ritual, blouse unbuttoned halfway, skirt unzipped but still clinging, the notebook open on the bed with fresh ink drying on a page about the tingles turning to subtle swells under my skin. Pills had woven their quiet work, chest tender, hips easing into a softer line that the mirror now caught without imagination, luminous and insistent. I traced the changes with fingers, throat loosening in the hush, when the front door downstairs clicked open too soon. Footsteps, familiar, light, echoed up the stairs. Not Mom's measured tread or Dad's heavy boot, but Lily's, suitcase thumping against the wall. She'd texted vague about a surprise visit from college, but I'd forgotten, lost in the room's pull. Panic flooded hot, static roaring in my ears. I fumbled for my jeans, heart slamming, but the zipper stuck, fabric tangling like it refused to let go. The door swung open before I could hide, Lilly framed in the threshold, eyes widening as she dropped her bag, the lavender air thickening between us. "What?" Her voice trailed, gaze flicking from the open closet to the skirt pooled at my feet, the blouse gaping, the notebook's pages fluttering in the draft. Time froze, my hands freezing mid-button, cheeks burning as exposure hit like cold water. Every secret laid bare in her stare. Fear choked me, throat tightening to a knot, visions flashing, rejection sharp as glass, her turning away like the family I'd feared, the room's invitation shattering into judgment. I stood there, half dressed in her remnants, body whispering its truths while my mind screamed to explain, to deny. But words jammed, static humming louder than ever. She stepped in slow, door clicking shut behind her, the suitcase forgotten in the hall. Her eyes held mine, not with shock exactly, but something deeper. Recognition flickering like the light on the vanity. "It's you," she said soft, voice steady where mine wouldn't form, crossing the rug in 2 steps. I braced, expecting the worst, but her hand reached out, pausing at my arm, fingers light on the blouse's edge. "The room. It did this?" Her question hung, not accusing but pulling, and the dam broke then, words stumbling out raw, confession spilling like ink from the notebook. "I didn't mean to start, Lily. The scarf, then the skirt. It felt right. Impossibly natural. The pills, the changes. They're confirming something I didn't know was buried." My voice cracked, throat raw. Tears pricking as I gestured to the mirror. The reflection fractured but whole in her presence. This isn't a phase. It's me. Emerging. But I'm scared it'll break everything. She paused there, air between us thick with vanilla from her coat, her own perfume mingling with the room's lavender like threads braiding. Something shifted in her eyes, hesitation melting to warmth, a nod slow and sure. "I knew the room held on to things," she murmured, pulling me into an embrace before I could pull away.
her arms wrapping firm around the half-buttoned blouse, chin resting on my shoulder. The contact grounded me, her heartbeat steady against my chest's tender swell, fear easing into relief as she whispered, "I've seen it in you before. The way you'd linger at my door during fittings. Eyes curious, not judging." This isn't breaking us. It's opening. Tears mingled then, hot on my cheeks, hers damp against my neck, the hug deepening the bond in vulnerability. Sister to sister now. Unspoken supports spilling out. She shared fragments of her own college whispers, friends transitioning in quiet dorms, the fear she'd carried alone. It wove with mine. Validation blooming warm, the static fading to a gentle hum. We sat on the bed after, skirt folded between us, her hand on the notebook as I traced the words aloud, voice gaining strength in her listening. The room transformed in that light, no longer a secret vault, but a starting point shared. Walls softening from pink intruders to witnesses of emergence. Joy threaded through the release, body relaxing into the blouse's hold. The changes not hidden, but held. Her acceptance sealing the reveal with warmth that chased the terror away. Future unfolded tentative but bright. Doctors next. Names chosen in whispers. The house's rhythm shifting to include this truth. Lilly stayed through dusk, helping fold the blouse away not in hiding, but promise. Her presence braiding the secret into something communal. The lavender air lighter now, carrying us forward. Standing in the room now shared in spirit, skirt hanging open in the closet, I felt contained yet free. The lavender settling like acceptance around us both. From intrusion to authenticity, no regrets lingered in the unfolding, just luminous possibility ahead. If this resonates with your own quiet discoveries, subscribe for more stories like it. Turn on notifications to join the journey unfolding.